Hello and welcome to the January edition of Celtic Sky's Sky Update, your guide to what's happening in the sky above us over the coming month. As always, this blog is for the non-astronomer. If you know little or nothing about astronomy and have no equipment other than a healthy pair of eyes, then this blog is for you. Along the way, I will try and explain some terms that might be unfamiliar. Sometimes you will see this symbol flash across the screen. This indicates that you can find out more on a particular topic by just going to the blog homepage, type in the topic in the search box and press search, and you'll get a brief video that will further expand on this topic. This month we'll be looking at the phases of the moon, how to measure distances using just your hand, the planets, the constellation Cassiopeia, and the meteorite shower, the Quadrantids. And so, without further ado, let's press on. As the moon orbits the Earth, it will go through its different phases. So on the 5th of January, we will see the first quarter. On the 12th of January, the sky will be lit up by the full moon. The third quarter will be on the 19th, and the new moon will be on the 28th of January. The moon orbits the Earth on an elliptical path, which means that throughout the month its distance from the Earth will vary. When it's at its furthest, we call this the point of apogee, and when it's at its nearest, we call this the point of perigee. Now, the apogee distance on average is about 405,500 kilometers, and the average perigee distance is 363,000 kilometers, though from month to month these distances vary. In the month of January, the moon will be at perigee on the 10th at 8 minutes past 6 precisely, when it will be 363,241 kilometers from Earth. On the 22nd, it will be at the point of apogee, and it will be over 40,000 kilometers further away from Earth, specifically 404,911 kilometers.
One of the challenges in astronomy is trying to locate objects in the sky. So we need some form of reference, and the most fundamental one is using the points of the compass. We can tell if an object is in the northern part, southern part, eastern part, or western part of the sky. But after that, we will want to know or be able to measure how high an object is above the horizon, what the distance between two objects is, and indeed, for some bodies, how large are they. So astronomers have devised a common system of units to make all these measurements, and the unit is the degree. Imagine if you could superimpose a large protractor across the night sky. The protractor would stretch from one point on the horizon over to the opposite side, and this, as we know, is 180 degrees. And this gives us our unit of measurement, the degree. In the example that we have here, the planet is about 40 degrees above the horizon. Anything that's at the zenith, i.e. directly above your head, is said to be 90 degrees above the horizon. We can also use degrees for object measurement. For example, the moon is approximately half a degree in width. As you know, all celestial bodies appear to be constantly moving across the sky, and they move at the pace of about 15 degrees an hour. This means that the moon will move its own width across the sky in 2 minutes. But I hear you ask, what use are these units to the casual observer? How big is a degree in reality? Do I need equipment to measure in degrees? Well, yes you do. It's called your hand. And what you do is you hold your hand out at arm's length, and using the fingers on your hand, you can estimate distance in degrees. Your pinky or little finger is approximately 1 degree in width, and so 2 widths of the moon is about equal to the width of your little finger. If you hold your 3 fingers as shown, this gives you an approximate of 5 degrees. The clenched fist held out is approximately 10 degrees wide. If you stretch out your index and little finger, as shown, this span about 15 degrees. I call this the rock and roll pose. And finally, the full outstretched hand is about 25 degrees in width. These are just approximations. They are not an accurate measurement, but they will help you to find your way around the sky. If you know the general direction of an object and its distance above the horizon, you will have a good idea where to find it. It's a method I use throughout this blog.
Using the degree unit system, there are a few planet sightings that a novice watcher can make this month. We kick off early in the month on January the 2nd, just after sunset, around 5:30 in the evening. If you look to the southern sky and about 25 to 27 degrees above the horizon, you will see Mars, the Moon and Venus more or less in a line. The Moon and Venus will be very close together, less than 2 degrees apart. This will make for a pretty spectacular sight. On January 19th, if you're up for an early rise, if you look again to the southern sky, about 30 degrees up from the horizon, again about a third of the way between the horizon and the zenith, you will see the Moon and Jupiter in very close approximation. And this, if the sky is clear and cloudless, will be a beautiful sight indeed. Our third sighting is a bit more challenging and will require a very clear sky and a good view of the horizon, because we will see around the 7 o'clock mark, an hour or so before sunrise, or before the sky starts getting very bright, Saturn will be a few degrees south of the Moon. Now, this is only about 5 to 10 degrees above the horizon, so for many of us in a city, you will not see it because it'll be blocked by the many objects on your horizon. But if you live out in the country and you've got a clear view of the horizon, this could indeed be a very, very nice sight to see, again for the early riser. In an earlier blog, we looked at the plough and how we use it to find the North Star, or Polaris. Another constellation that is close to Polaris is Cassiopeia. This very distinctive W or M-shaped constellation is one of the circumpolar constellations. That is a constellation that rotates around the North Star and never sets below the horizon, so it is visible all year long. The constellation is named after the Greek goddess Cassiopeia, who was known for boasting about her unrivaled beauty. The constellation itself is a lovely sight to look at, but what is of real interest is a small blurry patch about 3 widths of the constellation away from it, as indicated in the diagram here. This little fuzzy patch is the Andromeda Galaxy. Unfortunately, to most of us dwelling in the cities, it is very difficult to see. It takes an extremely clear night to see it, but out in clear country skies, it is visible to the naked eye. The Andromeda Galaxy is truly an amazing object. It is a collection of stars that is about 220,000 light years in width. It contains approximately 1 trillion stars. That's 1,000 billion stars. And when you think that each star is like a sun, then you can imagine the sheer size of this object. It is about 2.5 million light years away. That is to say that the light that comes from this patch was traveling for about 2.5 million years before it hit your eye. And if you can see the Andromeda Galaxy, you're actually seeing it at a time when Homo habilis, who was one of the earliest ancestors of man, first walked the earth. Sometimes it's impossible to imagine the dimensions of our universe. In terms of meteorites, the highlight of the month are the quadrantids, which last for the first 10 days of the year. They appear to radiate from a point in the northern sky. This radiant point used to be located in a constellation called Quadrans Muralis, but this constellation was dropped from the official list of constellations in the earlier part of the 20th century, but the quadrantids retain the name. The peak will be sometime between the 3rd or 4th of January. It's difficult to say exactly when, but if the skies are clear and the shower is relatively active, you could potentially see up to 120 meteorites or shooting stars an hour, so it should prove to be a fairly interesting and spectacular sight. It is worth, therefore, to have a look in the northern sky, either early before sunrise or later after sunset on the 3rd and 4th of January. And so that's it for another month. I hope you enjoyed the Celtic Skies Sky Update trip through the January night skies. I'd like to wish all the Splogs viewers a happy new year, and maybe your New Year resolution will be to try and get out at least once a week to have a look at the magnificent sky above us. And so until next month's Sky Update, I wish you all clear skies.